Good morning. I want to welcome all to the Secret How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host. We're very fortunate to have a guest speaker. Her name is Kashia
Kiasha.
Kikiase uh,
Kiasha. It's,
Tisdale, right?
yes.
All
Yes.
right. Yes, Tisdale. Why don't you go ahead and we'll start off with you. But before you do, I'd like to tell everybody that if you want to call in to schedule a time to be on the show or get a free consultation with Vincent W. Davis, who hosts this show, it's 888-888-6582. And I believe that Kiash,
Kiasha.
Kiash is going
Hmm.
to tell me how we can maybe help her about her case with CPS. Okay? Thank you.
Awesome. So my name is Kiasha Tisdale. I recently moved from Colorado to Arizona, fleeing a domestic violence situation. Myself, a victim of human trafficking and domestic violence, I had to flee what I would call my abuser and also the children's father. It was the best thing for me to get out of the toxic relationship that I was in and to save my children from the abuse that I thought could actually, pass on to them by running away. And when I got to Arizona, I was unaware of, this city. I really didn't know anything about this city. I just knew that it would be a little bit further from where he was. So when I got here, I lived in a weekly type of apartment where you pay by the week and you actually you have a kitchen and it's somewhat like a regular living lifestyle for the kids. So it wasn't like we were in a hotel living. We had somewhat of a home. And I didn't have very many family members here. I only had two cousins here, and I was coming to see my cousin. It was around Easter. We were okay. We were only here 2 weeks. Me not knowing the crisis that Arizona was going through at the time. Arizona is dealing with a lot of drug addiction and fentanyl and things like that. But without me knowing, my cousin had fentanyl in his possession. My son went through his bag and overdosed, and he was 3 years old. By the grace of God, he did not die, and that he did survive. And so when they gave him the Narcan, he came back. I explained everything to the police, to DCS, that I was a victim of domestic violence and fleeing human trafficking and things like that. But they didn't take that in regard. They actually contacted their father, which is my abuser, letting him know where I was when I was running away from him. And they took both of the babies away. I have two children, ages 2 and 3. They're 2 and 4 now. They actually had a birthday in custody. And so I thought I would be able to prove to them, I don't use drugs. I was a victim of domestic violence and fleeing away from the turmoil. And I ran into a more toxic situation with my family using drugs I didn't know. And so now I'm finding out that the city is just infested with drugs, and almost everywhere you go, you see this people just all over, behind the bus stops, behind the stores. Everywhere you go, you see people addicted and using drugs here. So I automatically noticed, like, what are people doing here to help the crisis, instead of me, looking negative upon myself because I know I don't use drugs. I started to communicate with the caseworker and ask them what were they doing to try to help me get the kids back. And instead of them helping me, they just used my past against me. They used everything that I've ever had on my record against me, which was things that I had when I was with my abuser. And so at this point, where we're at now, I have had 8 caseworkers and I've only been in this situation 8 months, but it's been changed almost every month. They change the caseworkers, so I can't get a rapport or get a relationship with anyone because they keep changing it. I have had my son voice to me. The one of my sons, my 3 year old, he's 4 now. He voiced to me that someone was hurting him on his bottom, but he said the word booty. And so he told me, Mommy, he said the name of the person that was hurting him. And so I mentioned it to him. I did not understand how they could allow that to happen. They ignored me and told me that that wasn't happening. And I told them, well,
Excuse,
my baby
excuse me 1 second. When you're in Colorado, did you have a restraining order put against your partner, your husband?
yes, yes, we
What
did
is
have
it?
a restraining order.
So why would the restraining order? Why would they return the kids to his custody if they had a restraining order against them?
That is something that I asked as well. They said that it was policy that they had to contact him. We had an open restraining order, a no contact order put in place when I fled the state. So
Okay.
I did not understand why they contacted him to let him know where I was. But they did. And so he's been pretending to be father of the year, making up lies on me, contacting and communicating with the kids without my knowledge. They're allowing him to see the kids over the phone without me approving it.
Where are the
Um,
kids? Where are the kids? They're not in his custody.
they're in two separate foster homes here in Arizona. So they
Okay.
haven't been together at all. They haven't seen each other since it happened. I
Okay.
think they had one visit together.
Are they still giving you visitation rights?
So they took my visits away from me because my oldest came with a nail polish on his fingernails to one of the visits, and I was very disturbed. I do practice religion and I practice my spiritual beliefs, and I don't believe that any child, not even a girl, should wear nail polish of red. Red nail polish. It was red. He also told me that he had to wear girl clothes. That was the way he described it. He said, Mommy, I have to wear girl clothes. They making me wear girl clothes. And I didn't understand. So I asked them and they said, well, maybe it's because he's in gymnastics that's what he's talking about. And I said, well, can you put him in more of a sport for boys? Because I can think girls are flipping, doing splits. I don't think that's something that a boy should be doing. And the third time that he came, he had burn marks. He had physical burn marks on his legs. He had scrapes on his legs where his skin was scraped off. And I knew that there was something happening physical. That was a physical bruise that I
Do you
saw.
show
It
that
was
to the social worker or take pictures?
Yes, I have pictures, and the social worker did not take it at heed at all. They actually trespassed me that day from seeing the children at the facility, and that's the last time that I got to see my children in person. So they have me see them on the phone, like how we're doing now, and
Yes.
I can't really get any information out of them because now they're recording me on the other end as I'm talking to my children.
Um. What did? Do you have representation? Do you have an attorney?
I do. I had to fire the first attorney that I had because she was making statements about the judge, and she was saying things like she graduated from Harvard and she doesn't understand urban life and she doesn't know anything about what I would consider poor life. She's basically making me feel uncomfortable that I had a judge that wouldn't even understand my lifestyle. So she wasn't being very informative, and I had an issue with the boys getting vaccinated, not with just COVID vaccinations, but just vaccinations in general. Right now, I was able to do my DNA, and when I did my DNA, I've realized my genealogy and how many different strands I had in me. I have 14 regions in my blood, so I felt very uncomfortable to have being experimented on and having my children experimented on. So I asked them not to vaccinate them, and she told them that I was okay with it. And so I fired her to get a new lawyer, and I have a new lawyer now, but we're very seldomly in touch. I think it's maybe because of the holidays, they just came so quickly, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, but I haven't spoke to my attorney in about 2 months, 3 months.
Are these attorneys you pay? Are they public defenders?
So the first one was public defender. When I fired her, the next lawyer that came, she told me on the first day, she said, I'm not a paid, she said, I'm not a state appointed attorney. I'm a paid attorney, but I don't want you to worry about who paid me. So at that point, I didn't know, I'm not really savvy with the law. So I
She was
didn't know
doing
how,
pro bono. She was doing pro bono. Is what you're saying?
okay,
Pro bono means that they charge. They don't charge. They just help you out. So
okay.
okay. But was this an attorney experience in family law and
So the
That was
new attorney that I had, she made me feel really confident. She told me that
okay.
her major was in social science, and
Okay.
that she understood that I have Congo in my blood. I have 35% Congo, and so I was really challenged because I'm seeing the genocide in Congo right now, and I'm worried about my children being attacked through experimental vaccinations. And so she
Okay.
said she understood that and that she had knowledge of the Congo. So she was making me very confident.
I've lost your voice. If you still hear me,
Sorry, I got a. Yeah,
there.
I can hear you. I got a phone call. I had to stop that.
Okay, no problem.
And so she has been very informative. My new attorney, she's very confident. She does take in consideration the things that I asked for. She asked that I would strategize differently because she doesn't want me to fight against CPS. She just wants me to comply, which I don't think it's a problem to comply. But with my children being harmed, I think it's important that I fight.
Go ahead. Go.
Okay, yeah. So now not seeing the boys has been really challenging because when I see them, I can see the pain in them over the phone. They can't really talk to me as much as they would like to. They're little, they're small, so they're only 2 and 4. My 2 year old is in one home, and then my 4 year old is in another home. So I'm trying to satisfy two foster parents, and both of the foster parents are not willing to allow me to see the kids at home. Every time I see them, there's some type of band-aid. There's a band-aid on their nose. It's a bruise on his head. I'm just seeing so many different bruises that I'm not. They never had bruises or scars when they were with me, and I'm starting to just like question: are they safe where they're at?
What
And
is
they
the
won't.
case? What is your case plan?
So right now, the case plan has been very ignored. I have no idea. Like I told you before, I haven't even spoke to a caseworker not one time since I've been in this situation. It's been 8 caseworkers. The only time I spoke to a caseworker is when they want to do something physical. Like my son had to get dental work. So they one time she came to me and had me sign paperwork for them to do dental work. And now they want to do a surgery on my 2 year old's eye. And that's something I don't agree with, but they're saying that I don't have say so. I haven't lost my parental rights, but they're making it seem like I have. I don't get to say or not say anything. If I don't agree with it, they still do it. So right now they're planning on doing a surgery.
What are
And
the
I
alleged? What are your alleged charges? What has been alleged against you?
neglect.
Neglect. Okay. And what plan do they have you as far as taking classes? Do they have you taking any classes?
So I do have a UA testing that I have to call every day to see if I have to do a drug test, and I have been complying with that 100%.
Okay.
I was supposed to be doing a class, but the lady who is running the class is against my religion. So she kicked me out of the classroom. And I totally didn't understand that. I really didn't. I couldn't because I knew that in our constitution, I know that you can't go against someone's religion. So I didn't understand how I was being kicked out. So she kicked me out. And from that day, I haven't had any acknowledgement on what to do from that day forward. Nobody's communicated with me. They're making it more like I don't want to comply, but I don't know what to comply with because I haven't spoke to anybody and I don't know how to reach anybody. I've tried to reach out to the case aide, which is the person who brings the kids to visit, like on the video visit, and she always tells me she's going to try to find out who the caseworker is, but I never get any knowledge of who it is. I still don't know who to communicate with.
Okay. Um, do you um, do you have any idea from your last meeting with your attorney what your attorney's trying to do for you? Do you know what her game plan is, her strategy?
So right now she wanted me to re-strategize, fighting against the courts because When I did research on my judge, not just first before I did research on her, I tried to communicate with her and let her know that I was concerned about human trafficking with my son because he's 4 years old and they took him to California multiple times without my knowledge.
Who
I did
did?
not, the foster parents.
Why would they take your son to California?
I have no idea. I have no idea. They said it was the first time they went, they said that it was for the 4th of July. And I was like, okay, well, shouldn't I be aware? And so they said they didn't have to make me aware. The second time, they said King was going on a vacation. I'm sorry, they said my son was going on a vacation. So now I'm like, a 4 year old going on a vacation doesn't sound logical to me. It just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I started to do my research and I found out that human trafficking in the state of Arizona is very, very out there. There's multiple cases where other people have already brought this up. And there's also state representatives that even brought it up. And there's a lot of people that are fighting against it. So I felt like I was definitely a victim of it with my son. Now, when I brought it to the judge's point of view, when I brought it to her, because I knew at this point the judge is the one that has the final say. So I mentioned it and she hung up in my face. Like, I brought up that I was concerned on the record that my son was being human trafficked. And she said, "Oh, Miss Tisdale, we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this call." And it was just click. And I'm like, hello, and I never thought that that was even possible. So I started doing research on her. And I found out that she was a judge in Rwanda's genocide, and Rwanda's genocide killed over 1 million of the people of my descent and my actual genealogy in just 100 days. I was really really affected because I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. She was a judge from United Nations. I don't know anything about why a United Nations judge would be judging at the state capitol in Arizona. And there's also a United Nations flags flying outside of the state capitol. So I really got concerned, and I started to wonder if the United Nations is in control and not our government.
Well, that would be kind of unusual, but I don't know too much about Arizona. Um, I know it's a very most of the cities are small populations, and the people that have had trouble with CPS are able to. You can also ask for a new CPS worker, or you say it's DS.
Yeah, they call it DCS, Department of Children's Safety.
Right? Yeah, yeah. They have
Yeah,
different names.
yeah.
DCS. Yeah,
And I'm in Phoenix, so this is the state capital, and it's pretty large.
yeah. It
Um,
is. It is. It makes it. Have you talked about having a different social worker?
So I haven't spoke to a social worker in the beginning, but they change it so much that I can't talk to anybody. I
Well, you
haven't
can ask. You can ask for a supervisor. You can ask for a supervisor.
that too. So my case was in Mesa, which I didn't understand how they had it in Mesa, and I'm in Phoenix. Mesa is the place that actually trespassed me, so I'm not able to go to Mesa anymore. So now it's in Phoenix. So now Phoenix is just totally ignoring me. They do not answer, they do not respond. I will contact I've contacted all the supervisors. I have a name and a list of at least 10 people that I've left messages with. I get no response. When it's time for court, which our courts will be months out. So we our last court was in October and the next court is in February. By the time I get to February, it'll be a new caseworker. So it's just been so changing so much that I can't get on track with anybody to communicate anything about the children.
Well, do you think your new attorney is able to do something, or your new attorney just isn't doing anything?
So I'm hoping she's going to communicate with me on January 3rd. She was out for the holiday and she does seem like she has my best interest. I haven't had any bad intellect with her. I just believe that she doesn't want me to fight. She just wants me to comply. And so I'm trying to comply, but I don't even know what the plan is to comply with. All they have me doing right now is drug testing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The drug testing. Now, is that drug testing? Um, I mean, it comes up negative all the time. What are they trying to test for you? What type
Yes,
of
so
drug?
it does come up negative. So right now they're testing me for a 9 panel and fentanyl. And so, because fentanyl, I know I don't use fentanyl. I've been testing every day as much as I can. But in my situation, I'm dealing with poverty. And so, it's like, this is my biggest concern. I
Yeah,
am a single
yeah.
mom. It's not drugs that really is the issue, it's not having stability. And so, I'm trying to find out if they can help me with any type of stability, if they can help me get bus passes, or if they can help me, get to these classes or whatever needs to be done. Or can I do it on the video when I don't have, of transportation? But they haven't tried to help at all. It's almost like they're making it worse by keeping me and the kids apart and not giving me a case plan and not helping me get to any of the things that need to be done to get them back. It's like I'm just alone. I'm not from Arizona, so I don't have family here or friends, and I'm just finding resources as I go. Like, I found you guys, and I'm so thankful that I have an opportunity to share my story. I'm staying in a women's shelter right now that is really helpful with single mothers, and they have a side where, if they were to give me my children back, not if but when, they have a side that I can have the children with me. So it is good that I found this shelter and that they're willing to help single moms like myself. But DCS just won't communicate with me to find out that I am trying. I haven't, the caseworker, they just won't talk to me.
And is it what's the reason they're saying that they won't talk to you? Is there any reason?
So when I saw the bruises on my son, I was very distraught. I think I went in a state of shock because it was so fresh, and I never knew that these things could happen. The burn, there were burns marks. The family services that was coming to bring the children at that time, his last name was matching what my son was getting done, Burns. And so I was really nervous about that because my son was getting burned. And so I was upset. I voiced that I was upset. I didn't say I was going to hurt anyone, but I was totally upset. I think it was normal. I'm his mother. And so they used that against me and said that I was a threat to the facility and that I couldn't see the kids in person
O-
after my babies had bruises.
Okay. Are you keeping a log or a diary of all the things happened so you can refer to it?
Yeah, so I don't have it written, but I have it on my phone. I have all of the things. I have a little
Yeah.
notepad that I keep on my cell phone. And I also take video pictures when I see the babies, like how we're doing now. I will screenshot pictures and things like that so I can have, he has
Right.
a, a band aid across his nose right here. And then he had a big bruise on his head right here. And so they told me that he had was jumping on a trampoline and he head butted with somebody, and that was their reason. The burns, they said that King had, or excuse me, the baby had scratched his leg and he got bit by a bug and that it turned into staph. That was their reasoning. But these reasonings are not valid, and they don't have any type of way of proving that they're not abusing my children. It just feels like they're abusing my children in a very, very terrible way.
Have you asked for new foster care for them?
So I've been trying to get them together, because they have been separated from the beginning. Since it happened, they've been separated in separate homes. They told me that they were looking to put the kids together, but they still haven't been together. So right now, I don't even know how to get new foster homes. I don't. I'm a little nervous about it because now they've been with the people that they're with for so long that they say if you go into displacement that it'll be much worse. I hear stories. I hear the worst stories, horror stories about the children being displaced in so many different places. So I'm kind of just trying to trust that they'll be home soon.
Yeah, it's really hard over the holidays too because you were his mother. Now, when this instance started, um, did it start early on, or did it start a couple years after, or how did it start?
No, it's been only 8 months since we've been in this in total. And so it started early. It happened in April. In May, I started to see the bruises. I started to see the burns on his leg. April, May, June, I wasn't allowed to see the kids anymore. So I haven't seen them since June. And the boys have been separated since April. And so this just it started this year in April.
So it's going almost a year now
Yeah.
that you're with the Arizona DCS. Okay,
Yes.
and the new attorney. She has been in communication since October.
Yeah,
Um,
so the new attorney is, I mean, I know they're all busy, but it just seems like when they give you a court date, it's so far out that you don't communicate with the lawyer until it's close to court again. And
okay,
so right now she's going to contact me on January 3rd, and we have court in February.
all right, okay. Um, have you? Is there any particular questions or anything that you would like some help on?
Yes, so I had questions on the abuse, like when you have children that are being abused in DCS custody, like how do you, I made one complaint with the Osmond board, I believe it is, but nobody's contacted me back, and it doesn't make sense to me that if they take children for being abused and then they get into foster homes and they're being abused, who is it that you make a complaint to about that? Because it seems like nobody's listening. I can't find anywhere to make a complaint that somebody would pay attention to the children in their custody, because they weren't being abused with me. And so now I'm seeing bruises everywhere. Every time I talk to the boys, it's like something hurts.
Have
And
you
I don't know who to
reported
make a
this to
complaint.
the? Have you reported this to the Phoenix Police Department?
So when the police did get involved, that's when they trespassed me from the facility. They didn't even look at the baby. They just took the DCS's took their word, and they trespassed me, and they didn't even look at the baby. They didn't even
What
take
do you,
heed
what do
at all.
what do you mean trespass? I don't understand what you're saying there.
So we were at a visit. I was at a visit at the facility. The facility is at a bank as well, which I thought was very unusual. It was at the Bank of America, and it was a corporate Bank of America, so it wasn't like a regular bank. And I didn't think that was a place for kids to go to visit their parents. But when I had went in there and the baby had the burns and we had the altercation, the police came, and I was telling the police like my babies have burns on them, and there was a security guard there, and the security just was like, hey, this just trespass her, just go ahead and trespass her. So they trespassed me and not even looked at the baby. So they said that I was trespassed from coming back to that facility, and that was where I go visit the kids. So at that point, I can't come back there to see my children anymore. That was their way of keeping me from seeing them again. And the police officer that day did not do any type of looking and checking on my children. He just trespassed me from the building. They took DCS's word and ignored mine.
It seems very unusual that if you have that arranged, do you have any paperwork to support your claim that you're allowed to meet at the Bank of America corporate office to visit your kids? Do you have paperwork that substantiates that?
I just followed their rules. This is where they said go and visit the kids. It's in
Well, they
Mesa. It's
usually
at
have usually they have paperwork like a letter or in your case plan it's identified.
In this whole situation, I've never signed any papers. There's no papers that I've ever signed. There's no papers that I was ever given. I've never sat down with a caseworker and spoke one on one. There's never been one person that has contacted me or emailed me or sent me any information on anything, which is why I feel my children were legally kidnapped, because I don't have any information like most people. I talk to other girls that have caseworkers that they get to see their kids at Peter Piper Pizza. They get to go to the park. I don't understand why I haven't been given any real status on any of that. I don't have anything in documentation of what's going on with the children.
What you can do is you can go to the county records office, the clerk records office, and you get a copy of everything that's been submitted by the CPS, by the judge, all the rulings. And if you're low income, they'll print it for you for free. And
Okay.
I've been in a CPS case myself, and so I went ahead, and it was about 12 inches thick. If you think of a
Okay.
pile of paper, it was 12 inches thick. But they went ahead and printed everything, and in there, I could find out information about the case, who did what, who did this. I'm surprised your attorney hasn't done that because
Okay,
it's
so
very
I can
important.
ask my attorney, what did you say it was? The county clerk's office?
Yeah, you know where your court, where your judge is,
Uh-huh.
the courtroom down the hall or one of the other floors. I'm not familiar with your courthouse there. They have records office, and in there
Okay.
you can say you want to see your records for your CPS case. When you talk to the clerk, you tell them that you don't have your low income, don't have the funds to print up the copies, and you want to print of every page. Now, it may take them a day or two, but they will print it for you. And that
Okay.
way, depending on what, so you'll see every document. You should have every document. Um, if you don't have the documents, it's very hard to second guess the DCS people. You don't
Okay.
know what they're thinking, what their plan, or anything like that, and you can use that information against them. And your attorney should be able to orchestrate motions in the court to correct things or things that are wrong or in error or something like that. Because I can't believe that you've been going since April and have no paperwork at all uh,
I know.
from them because they have to follow what's required. They have roughly 45 days to investigate, and they have to during the investigation they prepare uh, all the documentation, the letters, and so forth. They identify your case plan. The plan's got to be approved by the judge. I realize what you say about judges because where I live in California, in Southern California, the judge is very corrupt in the sense that the sad part about we call it CPS there, the social workers, the CPS social workers, and the attorneys for the CPS social workers, and the attorney for my family. I had a family of five, so there's five attorneys, and at first it was public defenders, and then there was two CPS attorneys, the judge, the clerk, the CPS workers. All those people are involved, and you're not allowed to go into court to hear what they say. Your lawyer is supposed to fight them, and what's so hard? Um, Hang in there. I know how you feel about all this. It's really hard on you, but I know what you're going through. It's like I always tell people, I feel like I'm Alice in Wonderland that fallen down a rabbit hole, and I don't know where I'm at. It's really discouraging when you get this emptiness feeling and you feel that you're right, especially with your case, with you are married to this guy or
No, we
part
weren't married. He was
or
what we
part.
call now. Now I would call like now I've been able to do research, and he would be something like a Romeo pimp. He acted like he was my boyfriend. He acted like he
Oh,
loved me
okay,
and cared for me, but he was
right,
my abuser, and he trafficked me, and I ended up pregnant during the process of being trafficked. I never got any help or any type of counseling for what I went through, and so I just did what was right for my children, and I ran from that situation, and I
yeah,
knew that that
yeah,
was the best thing for me. And I'm glad that I did. No matter what happened, I'm glad I got us out of that situation. And so now I'm fighting to save my children from him because he is trying to take the children from DCS custody, which I know my kids do not need to be with him. And this is my challenge right now, is proving myself to these people that I am a good mom, and that maybe I did fall into some terrible situations, but it was to save myself and the children. I had to get out of his care. He's definitely not a good person, and he doesn't need to raise my children. I can only imagine my boys being raised by a what I would consider a pimp, So right now
yeah.
I'm fighting to prove myself to them.
Does he have a criminal record?
So what he did was he used me as his mule, and I ended up with the record. And that's why I had to get out of the situation,
He
because
has
he
no record of being arrested or anything,
in
doing
the
drugs.
past, yes, he does.
Well, they can use that record against him. Your attorney needs to bring that up. That if he has that bad of a record, that should be justification, and that is terrible that you're used by him,
Yeah,
and
and I
that's
had two children with him, and that's the worst part. My
yeah,
children are not, I always say to myself that they may have not been plans, but they're not wanted. And I they saved
Right.
me. They saved me from the terrible situation I was in. If when I got pregnant, I started to remember myself,
Right.
and they
What kind of a home did you come from?
So I did have a great home. My mom was a great mom. I did come from I have five brothers and they all protected me. I'm their only sister. And so I was protected. My mom passed away and that's where I started to fall into the wrong hands, looking for love in all the wrong places. And
Yeah.
so that's where I started to find myself in the streets and not having love anymore and looking for it and falling into the wrong hands.
Did you go to high school?
Yes, so I did graduate high school. I've done a lot of things: cheerleading. I was in horseback riding. I went camping. I had a great childhood. I really did. I sing. I've been able to do music. I've really opened shows for some major celebrities. Like you might not know their names, but Maya, Jagged Edge, John B, Little Mo. My whole life, I was always put on a pedestal because I was the only girl, and so my mom, she did put me on a high pedestal. She spoiled me. I had everything I wanted. I never had to live in poverty until she passed away. Then when she died, I just didn't have anywhere to go, and I had to pillow the post. And
Were you
I
living at home with your mother, or did you have your own place, your own job?
I lived with my mom all the way up until I was 18. I had my first child, which she's 21 right now. She's an adult. She was born a day before my mom died. So my mom died a day after I had my first child. And I thought I knew everything at age 18, but I didn't know anything at all. So I went through some struggles with losing her and becoming a mom at the same time. So my family helped me take care of my oldest.
How old
And
is your
then
oldest now?
she's 21.
Is she can help you at all?
She's actually not, I don't want to say mature, but her maturity level is not really to the point of she can take care of two children. She is scared and she has a lot of fears that, she just doesn't think she's capable because they're only 2 and 3. And so she's a little challenged with it. And I understand that. She's going to school. She graduated for cosmetology. And I don't want to put the burden on her and make her feel the guilt as if, she did
Right.
something wrong.
Have you had a job during all this time?
So since I've been in Arizona, no, I haven't worked. I've Now that I'm in this shelter, I'm looking for work diligently. I've been looking for
Good.
work, but not
Good.
having a home has been challenging.
Yes. Yes. We have a home now. It's a shelter, but
Yeah. So now
that's
that I do, I'm looking for work diligently, and they're helping me as well look for work. So hopefully, I can get a job within January, and I can be back on track with that.
so. It sounds like you have a game plan in your heart, which way you want to go.
Yes.
Sounds like you don't want to give up on your children. You want them back with you to raise them, but you're going
Yes.
to have a job to raise them. You need to have funds to
Yeah.
raise your children and get your own home. But it sounds like the home you're at, they'll take children there, so that's okay
Yes.
too. The main thing to do is get a job. That's your main thing to do. And maybe the attorney you have, who is pro bono with you, doesn't have the deep desire to work hard in your case only because there's no money in for him or her. I don't know this person's attitude, but a lot of attorneys are taxed. A lot of attorneys try to do pro bono, but it's hard on them because they have a business to run, a family to feed. So it is.
Yeah.
It's like I tell people that if you want to get, if you're sick or you have a wound to fix or something like that, you need to get a doctor to treat you, just like in the DCS and CPS. The You need an attorney to help you go through the courts to get your children back. They are skilled in there. And I want to mention our show, the number 888 That's Vincent W. Davis. He will give you a free consultation on the strategies of your case for 30 minutes. He's a remarkable attorney. He's a family attorney. He's a trial attorney, so he has done trials, so he has a lot of experience. with getting children back. He knows he knows the CPS system or the DCS system. I think there's a couple other names they call the branch of the social services that deal with kids. But in order for them, so our case is it's a money making business. The more the child stays in foster care, the more money they receive from the state and from the federal government. And I hate to say it, CPS is not your friend. There must be good people out there, but yet I have yet to meet somebody that's been really good. I've yet to hear a positive story out there about anybody that got involved in CPS that got their children back. I've heard horror stories, like at the poor town of Rosebud. It's Rosebud Reservation. It's a Lakota Sioux reservation, and their children were taken away, and they're not supposed to because the Indians tribes on the reservations take care of their own, and they have a law that says that if CPS is involved, the children must be turned over to the tribe. But it's a low income. And the thing is, it seems like CPS runs rapid when there's low income. And the thing is, when they're in the CPS's hands, the federal government or the state government does not distinguish between rich or poor. They give the same amount of money. So the longer they're in there and they get adopted, they get a bonus for foster care. They will get there. It's a sad. Foster care is very, very abusive. And, like my son, who was in foster care for a period of time, was locked in his room. He was punished for taking the communion by the mouth because he wouldn't take it by the hand. So I know about religion beliefs. Everybody has a right to practice their own religion. Everybody has a right to believe their own religion. And I don't know too much about the the Congo. Is it called Congo?
So Congo is in Africa. It's actually that's my descent. That's my actual genealogy. That's my
Okay.
blood. I was born in America. I'm from here. I was born and raised in. I was
Yeah.
born in California, Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
I did.
Your roots are from
Yeah.
Congo.
Hmm.
Okay. And Congo's a remarkable place. Beautiful jungle. I've been to South Africa. It's a beautiful place, but there's a lot of corrupt, and it's all dwelt with money and power. Um,
Yeah.
when people, that's the whole sad part. Money is a root of all evil. Money rules the world. The one with the most dollars runs the world. And the CPS is $1 billion business in California. They have a building that I visit with the director of CPS, and it's like the Taj Mahal. It's so beautiful. They spent money on glass windows, on state of the art architect. The building you look at would be something you'd see over in India at the Taj Mahal. It's like
Mm.
oil overboard. And in order for them to maintain a place like this, and my social workers were bad. One was really excited when she got a Gucci purse because she would get bonuses for taking her children. They worked on bonuses, which was the sad part of 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 the service, is that they're more interested in money than helping out your kids. And I was for 2 years, I struggled 3 years, and it's only supposed to last a year. The CPS should be done within a year, but it took 3 years. And of my three children, only two were brought back. Our daughter
Wow.
was coached into being divorced from us as parents. I'll never forget the day in court when the judge told her, and she was never allowed in the court. She was on video phone. It's so sad what they do is that they
Yeah.
said that, are you aware that you no longer have a brother or sister or parents? And she was so convinced she changed the name. She sealed her birth certificate. So you can't see her birth certificate. And she now goes by a different name. My two sons still see her. I encourage them to be with her sister, even though she legally is not their sister. But she's a very precocious girl. The last time I saw her, she was 12. She's 21 now. And during the whole proceedings, what was so sad is they never let me meet her with once did I have any kind of visitation rights with my daughter. It was like suddenly uh, taken away. And the thing I don't understand, CPS doesn't, is why not bring the family in, bring all the parties concerned, have professional people present, the CPS workers, the lawyers, the therapists. They meet in the room and they discuss the problems, the issues, and it can go well. I know that sometimes people want to speak out, turn, or yell or scream, but it's like our Congress. Our Congress meets to discuss issues. It may not be great, but you have to meet with people. This letter writing campaign, or like your case, where you're not shown anything or given anything and kept in the dark through phone visits and stuff like that. I know that my daughter was in court. She'd have to look to us in the eye. She wouldn't do the things that she did. All it
Right.
was, all it was done there. So the foster family, who are well to do off anyway, together, I think they are at like a half a million year salary, and they had no problem. But they gave them a bonus. They gave them a bonus for taking our daughter, and it's sad because it all relates to money and people like yourself. And the reason why I was short of money is that I lost my job, and that's a hard thing because I had worked for a long time in my life. Um, I'm 74 now. I've worked, 59 years. That's a long, 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 long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you get older, it's to uh, so hard to find work in older age because they think old people have to go and die somewhere. And it's really sad. But you will for sale if you keep at it. I know how you feel. I just wish I had a magic wand and I could make those two children come and see you. It's wrong that you don't have contact with them because have you been charged with any sexual neglect with them?
No.
All right.
No.
How about physical abuse? Have you been
No.
charged with physical abuse or would endanger the kids?
No.
So
They used my past against me, and they just charged me with neglect. And so
was that
they
because
know.
you didn't feed them, you didn't take them to school, or you didn't house them?
No, they just said because they're the person that was there, they like make it seem like it's my fault that I had him there, but I couldn't be responsible for somebody else's actions. I had no idea that this person had drugs, and they're making it, my fault, that he was there. And so I look at it. We had a
Well,
place, we had a home, they had food, they had toys, they had everything they needed. There were only 1 and 3 at the time, and so we didn't have daycare. I mean, we didn't have school, so it wasn't like they were in that at that age yet. So I was just dealing with single parenting, and they used me. I'm a target. I'm a single mom. I don't have a support. I'm running from domestic violence. I was a victim of human trafficking. So they just used all of that to build up a case that I'm not good as a mom.
well, you are good as a mom. Once you know from talking to you, I can tell people from talking to them whether they're good or bad. And you have domestic violence, and domestic violence is more than physical abuse. It could be yelling and
Yeah.
screaming. You're not supposed to yell in front of your kids. You're not supposed to yell. That is called domestic violence. You're
Yeah,
not
I had
supposed
to
to
learn
yell
that
or argue.
myself
And that's a hard
because
thing to do with anger management. You take a year-long class in anger management, and
yes.
it is really, 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 really hard because you both parties are pent up with love and care, and it hurts them when they hurt each other. Marriage is a horrible, horrible thing at times because when you have two people, I mean, in your case, you were taken, as you say, a mule, and I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean that means you're out to see other men. Is that what it was?
Yeah, like he used me to do things that he didn't want to do, and he didn't get in trouble. So he would like catfish. Like he would do all the texting, all of the talking. He controlled me. I couldn't have friends. I couldn't go anywhere. I didn't have no family. I was in another state. So I really was stuck. I was trapped. And when he did get arrested, what should have happened is he should have been arrested, and I should have been given the victims of human trafficking help. I should have been given counseling or whatever they had to help me to realize that I was a victim. But in those cases, the girl usually has to tell. She has to tell on the guy. And when you're dealing with the abusive man who's already done abuse to you, You fear him. And I was scared. I was scared to say what was really going on. I mean, I was scared. I was afraid. I didn't have kids at the time. I was just afraid of him. And I didn't tell on him until the second time I got in trouble. And when I got in trouble, that's when I was pregnant. I was pregnant 7 weeks, and I was in jail, and I found out I was pregnant. So that's how I found out. And my baby saved my life. Like,
How were you in
from
jail? What brought you to jail?
so he was doing all of the texting girls, texting guys. I would have to just go meet them. And so when I went to meet the
So
person that he was,
he was pimping you out to
yeah,
other people who paid
yeah,
for the services. Is that what it
yeah,
is?
yes. And
Okay,
when I
that's
went to meet this particular person, it was the police. And when it was the police, they
undercover
arrested
sting.
me.
Yeah, undercover sting. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And because he was texting using my name and my pictures and everything, it was me that they came after. I explained to him what was going on, and they did arrest him, but he got out. He got arrested for compelling prostitution against me and also for strangulation. And for whatever reason, they let him go.
Really? Wow. That's a horror story in itself. When a guy is pimping out people, that is a terrible,
And
terrible
then I
thing.
had to have 2 children with him. So for the rest of my life, I'm like in fear forever.
Well, you know, one thing you're smart. You moved away. Now it may be the fact that you're with your children are. So what you need to do is you need to work that attorney. And I mean, you're going to have to dog that attorney. You need to get those records of all the paperwork. You have to
Okay.
go through the paperwork yourself and highlight the things you have questions about and
Okay.
highlight the things I ask you to do. Make a checklist, everything you need to do. It's a very tedious thing to do, but you have a place, you have a shelter, and all you need to do, and they will not charge you for your records. You get copies of everything, and
Okay, I'm gonna focus on that because the state capitol is not far at all,
yeah.
and I have been in there. I didn't realize what I was doing because, of course, I've never had to go through this stuff, and so when I went down there, I thought it would just be easy to make a complaint against the judge because she hung up in my face, and when she
Well,
hung
you're
up
not
in my
going to.
face,
I found out that's the hard part. I found out making a complaint and go to the higher ups. It's not going to work.
oh
They're
my
in cahoots.
goodness, I was
They're in
retaliated
cahoots.
against.
Yes, I know. They're in
Like,
cahoots and they'll retaliate. I've learned the
oh
hard
yeah,
way. You're right.
they
You're right.
retaliated. They broke my leg. I had someone in an undercover police officers and undercover security guards watching me throughout the city, and a security guard attacked me and broke my kneecap. So right
Oh,
now
boy.
I had to have a 7 hour surgery. The judge doesn't want to, she, it's just like she's not going to say she has something to do with it, but who else would just have a security guard just out of nowhere attack me? And the way that they attacked me when I found out about the company, it's a founded by police officers and ex-military. So the whole security company is all police.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know I made a complaint. I didn't realize that I was doing something that magnitude, but I made a complaint, and my complaint was not just about my judge, because there's other judges here that are on a list. It's called a corrupt judge list, and I found my judge on that list, and so I outed all the judges on that list, and so now I have a whole team of judges that probably can't stand me here.
Well, the thing is, your children are here. You have to work in that court. That's be up to your
Yeah.
attorney. If the attorney's good,
Well,
all she
that's
has
why
to
she
do.
told me to stop fighting, because
Yeah,
she told me, what I'm doing is great, but because I'm dealing with a higher entity, that the goal is just to get the kids back and not try
exactly.
to fight
You may
against the
have to eat
judges.
crow to get your kids back, but
Yeah,
if you
so I
go through the
stopped.
paperwork, if you go through the paperwork and you highlight, you know, you can highlight different things. Use one color like yellow. That
Yeah.
is that is something that is a hot spot, and then use another color, orange, that you need to bring before the court,
Okay.
because there is written documentation. They're required by law to do written documentation of everything. So, in
Okay.
one respect, you can get them there, but it would save your attorney a lot of times if you filter through it and look at things. and it reads like a book. You start with the most oldest document, and it does everything. They have the initial investigation. Well, they have the first approach where they come out and meet with you. Then the initial investigation. Then they'll have the plan, the case plan that tells what they can do with the kids, and not do with the kids. There's the
So it was
detention.
supposed to be reunification and
Yes.
reunification, and then it says something with adoption in the same sentence. So I got really nervous to think, why do we have adoption in the same sentence as reunification?
No, that's two
So I'm
different things. That's two different things. That's not really right. Again, you need to read the documents, and then you can probably find some things that aren't
okay,
true, that are falsified against you. Um,
okay,
it's really hard because you have an uphill battle because you
yeah,
right now have experienced your these professional people that did you wrong. You have a guy that you met that did you wrong. I don't know what else to call him. You call him a romantic, a
he was an imposter.
Romeo imposter, but
Yeah, because I
they're a
believe in
bad
God, and
man in life. They're a bad man in life, and you
yeah,
met the wrong kind of man that puts you into pimping and have you go around and do his business for
yeah,
money. That was all you were doing there, and um, I don't think governments, I don't think public people really know what you're going through.
yeah,
I feel I do. I feel what you're going through because I've been there. Now I did not have the experiences you had,
yeah,
but I did it where they were doing things I could not believe. They were doing
yeah,
things that I could not believe, and that's the part. And then I found out it was all strictly for money. In order for them to make money, they have to keep your kids in CPS, and they have to withdraw money because the federal government pays the social services or the CPS branch billions of dollars. Billions. I'm
yeah.
not talking short change.
Yeah, so I heard
Billions.
it was eight. I heard it was 800,000 here in Arizona for
Yeah. Well, that is cheap, but I'd be surprised it's a lot more. But you won't
each
be able to.
child.
Yeah, you won't be able to fight that scenario. That's something you have to fight through your congressman. In order to make laws and change the lands, you have to
Yes.
talk to your congressman, your congresswoman.
And that's one thing that I can say that I have been doing diligently. Let me make that part clear.
Okay.
I started a group. I've gotten into a group with other women that are also going through DCS, and I found out, just like you're saying, with people who have wealth, most people that have wealth that go through this process, they are being drained and extorted. And that, just like you said, it's all about money. They want them to pay high attorney fees. They want them to pay for $75 an hour for their visitation. They have to pay their
Yeah.
case aides, and they do these things because they have the finances. And so the poor people, it's just easier for them to take the children because they don't have money. So it's like, I'm
Right.
finding
You're
this
right.
out now.
You're right.
Right here in they just had a legislator meeting, and my group was the one that let me know about this meeting, and they are doing a lot of talking. I don't know if they're going to do something about it, but DCS is on the hot sheet. They are more than likely looking at a case where they're going to be sued again, because there's plenty of children that are running away and not getting found. They're running away and getting trafficked.
Right.
They're running
Right.
away and they're
Right.
not putting them on that list that they're supposed to, put you on the list if you run away or if your child goes missing within 24 to 48 hours. And they're not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. So right now, Arizona is, I can't say at least Congress, we're being able to reach out to Congress, and Congress is, I don't know if they're going to make the change, but this is how I found out that the change has to be made, is going through, like you said, the Congress, the senators, the governors, and I've wrote just
Yeah.
about all of them, just so I'm very
Well,
active
yeah,
on
that's a
writing.
whole separate case. In fact, I encourage everybody to vote, exercise your
Yes,
right to vote, because the judges that sit in family court are voted in. They're not
yes.
appointed in, and we need to make sure we get legitimate judges voted in. So it's really important for all you listeners out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the show here because we're
Thank you
pretty
so
much
much.
at that. Well, thank you for breaking your heart. I know you're very emotional. I see it in your eyes. I see it from your
Yes.
heart. But you're a loving mother. You sound like you have two beautiful children. You will be reunited with them. And for all you listeners out there, please call 888 to tell me your story. And I'm Bob Pace, and I will help with how to fight CPS and how to win. And again,
Thank you so much, Bob.
yeah, Happy New Year to all of you, and you
Thank
all have
you.
a great New Year. I'll talk
You
to you again.
too.
All right,
God
I'll talk to you
bless.
again. God bless.